r/ask Reddit. What are people slowly starting to forget? How much time and energy goes into making the stuff all around you? Everybody knows exactly how a pencil works, but no one can create a normal pencil by himself. I think I have a better version of this. We live in a society exquisitely dependent on science and technology, in which hardly anyone knows anything about science and technology. Carl Sagan. That people cough for other reasons too. Editing. Wow. Many thanks to the kind people who gave me my first gold and silver award and all the other kind messages. As someone with allergies, I don't think people realize it's allergy season. So there's no reason to give me dirty looks when I sneeze. Edit. I'm getting a lot of replies telling me to wear a mask because then people wouldn't worry and I look responsible. I don't know what made people assume I don't wear one, but my allergies don't really go away when I wear a mask, lol. I was under the impression that COVID doesn't make you sneeze in the first place. Panama Papers. Unpopular opinion. The main reason people are forgetting about it is because most of the people implicated weren't American, Western European, which Reddit heavily markets towards. Seeing Messi and Putin's questionable finances isn't going to have the same effect that seeing Clinton, Trump, or any major American celebrity's wealth would. Felicity Huffman and the college cheating scandal got way more coverage for a reason. I think also a large number of people in the Panama Papers had a more legitimate reason for being in there than others. It's kind of what happens when you release unfiltered information to the public. Canada took the Panama Papers very seriously, and of all the people accused in Canada of having illegal money in Panama, only 2 were actually guilty of anything. And those 2 people were barely guilty of anything. These 2 parties entered a compliance agreement with the CRA in which they'd pay all money owed and not offshore money again, with a yearly audit until compliance is over. It costs millions to audit these people and not enough money was recovered to actually make up for it. One of the people audited who was innocent was an art dealer who paid all of her taxes in Canada. She actually paid slightly more money in taxes than she owed. CRA gave her a refund. Her business, of which was worth millions, was to buy and sell art pieces. She admits that a lot of the world's art sits in the hands of black market contacts, and so because of that she needed a bank account that would facilitate these cash transactions. But she paid all Canadian sales tax on the purchases and all fees and taxes for importing them. Another shining example was Prince Philip. He donated to a tree planting organization which required a Panama account to do. The guy legitimately thought he was planting trees. As a royal he isn't legally obligated to pay any taxes on his earnings, but he as a matter of principle overpays on taxes. He thought he was giving a charitable donation, which he wasn't claiming, but it was actually a money laundering company. When to own something you had to pay only once. Now almost everything is subscription based, requires paid upgrades, DLC, plugins and so on. Just looked at buying a treadmill for cold weather and stormy days, and what do you know? Almost all the brands available in brick and mortar stores require subscriptions before you can turn them on for the first time. $180 if for the privilege of operating a $1,200 machine in my own dwelling. It's not even about software anymore. Even physical goods are subject to this. You own something for a few years and then you update Brexit. Time to buy a newer version. World War I. No veterans left and overshadowed by World War II. On a similar note, the Korean War, overshadowed by Vietnam, although there are still veterans alive. MASH made it remembered. Neighbors in the late 90s, our neighborhood used to have block parties where someone would have a big barbecue and everyone would come hang out and have a good time. I was pretty young at the time. I don't know who hosted or organized this, but now nobody talks to anyone. Edit. It was in a suburb BTW. I'm not sure if people ever did those outside of suburbs. I talked to my neighbor once. He seemed like a nice dude. That was 3 years ago. He's probably still a nice dude. Would you say you still never talk sometimes? That the US had the longest government shutdown not that long ago. I actually did forget that. People have already started to forget that Trump was impeached a few months ago. COVID came in and really swallowed that event up pretty quickly. The Clowns with Knives of 2016. Do we even know what that was all actually about? I heard it was supposed to be an independent movie being made or something. I also wonder if it was just a prank that people kept copying over and over. People did turn into a prank, and I read and watched many being taken too far. Over in my country though, many clowns kept chickening out because fight modes kicked in. It was hilarious to watch a tiny lady beat a creepy clown with her personal ad. However, I read that some clowns took this a step further by jumping unsuspecting people late at night and physically assaulting them for laughs. What a world war is really like. Foreshadowing. Don't even make that joke. Oofta. The Patriot Act allows the government to take everything of yours without charge and lock you up indefinitely as long as they deem it a national security issue without any proof. National security meaning whatever the hell they want it to mean. National security is the card countries play when humans' rights need to be violated legally. That Reddit is just another social media platform susceptible to misinformation. Full of ignorant, corruptible and misguided people. Edit. Wow, just woke up and found my first ever awards. Thanks strangers, but I only reflect and repeat wisdom of people wiser than me. No, it isn't. I know for sure that my knowledge on everything is right. Why else would thousands of other people say the same thing after reading the same article as me? The article is definitely accurate. 2. It agrees with me and I'm right. So it's obviously right. How the US Constitution works and how much power the people are truly supposed to hold at it. Thank you everyone for the civil conversation. Nearly 11k upvotes. And 5 awards. People really should read the Constitution. Before even getting to the Bill of Rights, they should read about the federal offices in Article 1 and why they exist. The Constitution is dead. Duncan Lemp. Phone numbers. When's the last time you actually memorized one? 011899881991197,253. For the uninitiated. The Las Vegas shooter's motive was never revealed. I think people forget about the shooting itself. Being the deadliest mass shooting in US history, it got like a week or two of coverage and talk from everybody, and then it was like it was just swept under the rug and you didn't hear anything about it anymore. I'm a criminology student and I just did a paper about him this semester. The truly unique thing about Stephen Paddock versus the mass shooters we've had recently, Columbine, Anders Breivik, James Holmes, is that he was an extremely private individual. He didn't have a manifesto, he didn't have social media profiles linked to hate groups, and he didn't have any known radical beliefs. But, like most mass shooters, he was suspected to have some sort of mental illness that exacerbated the acute stress he was experiencing. Financial difficulties, failing health. He steadfastly refused to discuss his mental health with his physician, who suspected he had bipolar, while he had some psychopathic traits, lack empathy, shallow affect, manipulative behavior. He didn't have any of the superficial charm glibness that is so central to the diagnosis. Some professionals have suggested alexithymia, others have suggested bipolar. Psychopathy has been shown to have a genetic component, and his father was a lifelong criminal who, diagnosed with psychopathy, was on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list for 8 years. A very long time for that list. His brother Bruce has been arrested for various offenses: vandalism, possession of child pornography, assault, and is also mentally ill. Eric, who was most forthcoming to the press, also shows signs of a personality disorder. Bruce claims he is a psychopath as well, but he is, at best, unreliable as a source. It's very interesting to watch Eric's interviews, because if you spend time analyzing them you'll start to see a pattern among all the brothers. They're also one of the central sources of information, particularly of his early years. Not much information has been found about his mother, who has largely remained silent. What we do know is that he had a pathological need for control. With his health failing and running into some financial trouble, he felt out of control and was trying to regain it, a trauma control cycle that is often seen in serial killers and mass murderers. It could be that he was trying to outdo his father, who had a record for longest on the FBI's most wanted list. No doubt his choice were influenced by the shooters that came before him. Netflix that would arrive in the mail. They still offer that service? Oh. Are you serious? I have Netflix and I had no idea. Hong Kong protests, Tibet, Uyghurs in concentration camps, Israel-Palestine conflicts, Basically every social issue has been destroyed by COVID. Also, a little homophobic genocide in Chechnya. The Caucasus gets ignored in general. That the quarantines and lockdowns were to slow the spread of COVID-19 and not to eradicate it. I would say a lot of people aren't forgetting it. They straight never understood it. Just the other day my siblings and I were talking to my dad and he asked us how many people we thought were going to get the virus. None of us was able to get him to understand that the answer was probably everyone. It's like he's in denial or something. Democracy isn't a given. Even when you're told you have it, it's not a given you actually do. That a massive Boeing jet with 239 people on board disappeared and we still don't really know WTF happened. Edit. Easily the highest upvoted comment I've had. I was halfway joking with my post, but honestly for me it just really solidified just how much ducking ocean our earth is. The Malaysian flight. Oh man. They even looked in the wrong ocean. The wrong ocean. Edit. Did not expect my highest rated comment to be based off a Kathleen Madigan reference. I'm not surprised, but I still didn't see it coming. Cheers. Folks. The problem is almost solved. The pilot was depressed after his divorce, causing him to commit suicide. He disabled communication systems and crashed the plane. Others past embarrassments, even though we still hold on to ours. Now I don't forget the guy who farted in the quiet zone of the library. It happens and I feel for him, but I still remember. Yeah, the fact that I still remember some other people's embarrassing stuff means some people remember mine. That a government should fear its people, not the other way around. Politicians need to be reminded that they work for us, not the other way around. I was reminded of this when I saw the clip of a reporter asking Trump, "You're in your third year of your first term, and you're applying for the job again." I genuinely hadn't thought about it that way before. I haven't voted before, so I didn't think about it like we have every right to choose our leader. It feels like we just have to deal with whatever we get dealt, honestly, and it's so disheartening to feel that way. The fires in Australia. That wasn't that long ago, but it feels like 10 years. This whole year has felt like 10 years and it's only May. Perception of time slows with the more unique experiences you have. This year has been crazy and full of uncertainty, whereas past years might have flown by because every day wasn't all that unique. That before the EPA and environmental ordinances, the pollution was so bad that major cities occasionally had days they had to keep the streetlights on during the day because the sun was blotted out. This is legit. That's crazy. Yup, rivers also caught fire. https://en Wikipedia org wiki Cuyahoga River Histories n Wikipedia org wiki River Rouge Michigan https:// Healthy Lakes org Success Stories Massive Buffalo River Cleanup reaches halfway point. My dad died a week ago, starting to forget his voice, face and himself. Rafiki, look down there. Slowly Simba walks to the edge of the watering hole and peers inside. His reflection stares back at him. Adult Simba, that's not my father. That's just my reflection. Rafiki, no, look harder. Rafiki touches the water, which causes waves that change Simba's reflection into Mufasa. Rafiki, you see? He lives in you. Edit. Wow. Thank you all for the upvotes and my first awards. When I read Reddit for Jeet's comment, I instantly thought of this quote and hoped it would comfort them somehow. I know it comforted me. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm sure that must be very hard to deal with. How big a deal Princess Diana was. Think Meghan Markle x10. 000. How much of a wildfire her death was. How it was all the whole damn world obsessed about for months. I remember being woken up as a kid one morning by my mum screeching and crying she's dead. It was a manic moment, and TBH it was a relief to find out it wasn't my sister who had died, because that's how emotional she was. She took me, my brother and sister on the tube early on the morning of the funeral to stand as near to Westminster Abbey as we could get, and a very kind couple actually allowed us in front of them so we could be pretty much at the front. I'm not sure if this was the same day, but a book of condolence was opened and I signed it. I wasn't sure what to write, so I asked my brother what he planned to put and stole that. A time of tragedy it may be, but any chance to wind your brother up must be taken. I was dating a therapist when Diana died, and he had a patient who quit her pretty good job because she was so distraught and had to mourn for several months. This was not someone who knew Diana, just a random super fan. If you or a loved one was diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Mesothelioma is a rare cancer linked to asbestos exposure. Exposure to asbestos in the Navy, shipyards, mills, heating, construction or the automotive industries may put you at risk. Please don't wait. Call 1-800-99-LAW-USA today for a free legal consultation and financial information packet. Mesothelioma patients call now. 1-800-99-LAW-USA. If you or a loved one had been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after using Roundup weed killer, you may be entitled to a significant financial compensation. Brexit. Unless you are British or European, it's still a pretty big topic and will be again when the 2-year changeover thing is up. That weird period around 2007ish when everybody owned one of those big red bullshit buttons. I never thought I would miss 2007, but here we are at it. Guys, I should note that I was 7 in 2007. I never thought I would miss 2007 bruh. Peak RuneScape, Row, Halo 3, COD 4, AC1. That Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. It's so funny how if you were rich or in politics, it was just literally impossible to not be friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Net neutrality. How to navigate using a paper map. Forget using a map, just being spatially aware of geography. I know too many people who don't know where one town or area is relative to another. They just go turn by turn all the time. Conversely, I never developed good spatial awareness of where I live until I explored around on online maps and started to understand where things were in relation to each other. Paper travel maps are so full of extra information and hardly help if you don't already know where you are on the map, assuming you even are on the map. Kony 2012. Easily the most underrated candidate. It's a shame he's not running for president again in 2020. For PC gaming, that games used to have an unlimited lifespan. You could just modify a game in any way you like it, because it was normal to see total conversions or server-side mods that completely change your game. Nowadays the average game has about a 2-year lifespan and maybe about 4 years before the company decides servers will be shut down. People have been making classic Doom maps for 26 years now, with no signs of stopping. I almost can't imagine any other game having such longevity. I know things like Minecraft, GTA, BeamNG, Skyrim, etc. have had active modding scenes for years, but it's hard imagining that they would go on for that long. People are slowly starting to forget how to think for themselves. Doesn't matter what the subject is. People just listen to someone else's thoughts, opinions on the subject and then just reiterate them without understanding it completely by themselves. You say that, but I'm not convinced most people ever knew how to think for themselves in the first place. I completely agree. People act like this is a modern thing, when most likely people have been followers for as long as humanity has existed. Polio, and generally a world without vaccines. Every time I see unprecedented in the media these days I think, oh, it's precedented. You just don't remember it. The Tesla in space. I feel like there is a dead hooker in that trunk. Close to the perfect crime really. Mount St. Helens eruption. See pic in link below. It's volcanic peak in the Cascade Range, southwestern Washington state, erupted on the 18th of May, 1980, one of the greatest volcanic explosions ever recorded in North America. https://en. Wikipedia. Org-Wiki 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens media file. MSH80 eruption Mount St. Helens 05/1880 dramatic edit. JPG. We live near there. My husband grew up in the area and he remembers seeing ash falling from the sky like snow. Water in Flint. I stopped hearing about it and assumed the situation was resolved. Silly me. The situation had been basically resolved since 2017. By that time the levels of lead in the drinking water had been reduced to safe, pre-crisis levels. Not all the lead pipes had been replaced yet, But properly treated water does not pose a danger because it does not erode the lead. They anticipate that all the lead pipes will be replaced this year. They have a life other than social media. That it is okay to agree to disagree and still have a civilized conversation. That fact overrule your emotions and or feelings. How to have civil conversations and be decent human beings. The game, oh my gosh, I was not expecting this to get attention, thanks so much. You duck. I had made it years. Ed Snowden. The skill of repairing something instead of replacing it. That Russia shot down a passenger jet full of people and the world did nothing. The Alamo. Cursive handwriting. My kids really only learned cursive in the most basic manner in school. They do keyboarding instead. I can't remember the last time I wrote in cursive. ETA. I remember my parents writing notes to each other in cursive if they didn't want my siblings or me to read it. Christmas lists. etc. My mother still uses cursive for everything and my father is 50/50. They're both in their 70s. My oldest can just barely interpret cursive and she's almost 11y. ETA 2. Credits to you/Ali Borland who linked this interesting article from The Atlantic linking the ballpoint pen's popularity with the decline of cursive. Truth. Objective truth. We are in the age of disinformation and people are actually being conned into thinking that truth is subjective and their minds are being manipulated by loudmouth idiots with a dangerous objective. Working 5 days a week. The Animaniacs. Russia invading Crimea, part of Ukraine. Dr. Dre. Brock Turner. Brock the rapist Turner, who raped an unconscious woman. That one? How to politely disagree. Amy Schumer raped a guy in college and bragged about it later. Edit. https://thought catalog. com/2014/05/ wait a second, did Amy Schumer rape a guy? The draft. And that 18-year-old males are eligible for it. We're all people. The people you admire on YouTube or Twitch make mistakes too. Theirs are just recorded. That a man being nice to a girl isn't him being a simp. Why we went war and how Hitler got elected. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.